One of the most common concerns that I hear from people trying to become a personal trainer is all around time. Specifically, will I be able to make this work around my life? Will I end up working every hour going just to try and get a client base? Is the schedule actually sustainable long term? And these are very fair questions. And they do deserve an honest answer rather than a highlight reel of someone's best week. This isn't just the advice of some online PT running their business from a sun lounger in Dubai. I've made a lot of mistakes in my career as a personal trainer in terms of scheduling, but I've also figured out what actually works. I've been in the fitness industry for 12 years. I've built a high performance six-figure PT business in Edinburgh that you see behind me here. I have a family. I'm building that family, and I also qualify people as level 3 personal trainers. So in this video, I want to give you a realistic and honest picture of what your week can look like as a PT, but also without sacrificing your lifestyle, your relationships, your mental health in order to do so. And also why thinking about this before you qualify puts you in a much better position than most people who enter the fitness industry. Most people who are preparing to become a PT are usually focused on the qualification itself. The anatomy, the programming principles, the practical assessments, which makes sense because you need to do that to pass the course. But very few people actually spend time thinking about the business and the lifestyle side of it before they're already in it. And that's where a lot of new PTs struggle. Not because they lack knowledge, but because they haven't thought through how they're actually going to structure their days. I've made that mistake. When I started, I just said yes to everything. Early mornings, late evenings, last minute changes, 9:30 p.m. finishes into 6:30 a.m. starts. Working 6 to 7 days per week were pretty regular. For a while, I felt like that dedication was something that I just needed to move the needle. But what I was actually building was burnout. I became resentful of my schedule, not because of anything my clients did, but because I never actually set any boundaries in the first place. I had no structure, no protected time, and no energy left for the things that matter to me outside of work. So here's what I wish someone had told me before I qualified. The PTs who last in the industry and who genuinely enjoy their careers are the ones who treat their schedule like a business decision from day one, not an afterthought. A lot of PTs assume that being a PT means working split shifts or 6 or 7 days per week. And that can happen, but only if you let it. And it usually happens because nobody told you that there was another way. So here's a framework that works well, and that I'd encourage you to adapt rather than just copying it exactly. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday mornings, these are your morning blocks. Client sessions from around 6 or 7 a.m. through to about midday. Then you have Tuesday and Thursday evenings, and you have sessions from around 4 p.m. to 8 p.m., maybe 8:30. And then Saturday mornings for shorter morning blocks, maybe 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. if you want to take the clients on the weekends. That structure gives you roughly 25 to 30 contact hours per week, spread over 5 to maybe 6 days. For a full client base, that's a pretty sustainable working load. For someone just starting out and building up, it gives you a clear framework to grow into rather than a blank canvas that quietly becomes chaos. Equally important is what sits outside those blocks, and this is where a lot of new PTs fall down. They think of the gaps between sessions as downtime rather than, or I guess they always wonder why they feel like they're always behind. The gaps need to be used intentionally for your own training. It goes into the calendar like a client session would. It doesn't move unless something urgently comes up. You want to uphold the values that you have and that you promote when it comes to health and fitness. And believe it or not, your clients do notice that. Admin time, writing programs, following up with inquiries, and sorting invoices if you're self-employed. Roughly 90 minutes midweek and another block at the weekend is usually enough when you're starting out. Then you have life admin and meal prep. If this doesn't get protected time, it bleeds into your evenings and you won't be fueling adequately. PT requires a lot of time on your feet, and you need to make sure that your own nutrition, like you would for your own clients, is dialed down and you're fueling adequately. Then there's time with people who matter to you. And this is the one that people forget to schedule until they've already lost it. Prioritizing downtime, being with those that you love, and getting your headspace away from the gym. We are lucky that we work in an industry that is so passionate about helping people, but working in a gym, training in a gym, and never switching off from the gym ends up just building resentment, and you will lose that passion for training. So get outdoors, spend time in nature, or have other hobbies that you enjoy doing out with the gym. Now, the goal here isn't to account for every hour. It's to just give you a structure that means your clients get a consistently good version of you and that you have a life outside of your work as well. When I started to actually protect my schedule this way, something very unexpected happened. My client retention actually improved. People stayed longer, and I put that down to the fact that I was actually showing up with energy and focus rather than running on fumes by a Wednesday or a Thursday evening. And retention is one of the most important metrics in this job. and your schedule has a direct effect on it. A good story of mine is that I have a client called Thomas. I've trained him since 2019, so around 7 years now. In 2021, him and his wife had a baby, so he stopped training for around 6 or 8 months. He wanted to come back, but unfortunately, I had no space for him at the time. I offered him to one of my fellow PT friends in the industry to take him, but Thomas insisted that he trains with me, and I was just to let him know when a space becomes available for him on the days and times that he wanted. It took about 6 months for that space to actually become available in my diary, and I messaged him expecting him to no longer be interested by that time, but he had waited. Now, the take home for that story is that boundaries aren't being rude or shutting down opportunities. They are actually essential when it comes to you delivering a good service and having people respect your time. Next up is having a good booking system in place. When you're starting out with 2 or 3 clients, managing your diary feels like it's a very easy thing to do. You can do it through text message or writing it down on a sheet of paper or the notes on your app or whatever it is. It all works until it doesn't. The problem is that by the time it stops working, you're already in the middle of building a client base and then having to retrofit a proper system that is much harder and more disruptive than just starting with a good one. So getting a good booking system in place early is one of the best things you can do before you even take on your first paying client. Here's what a good booking system can do for you. It should connect directly to your personal calendar, Google Calendar or whichever one you use. So everything lives in the one place. Your client sessions, your own training, your admin blocks, your personal commitments, everything that we've just spoken about that is really important outside of work. You shouldn't have to check multiple places to know what your whole day looks like. It lets clients book themselves in with the availability that you actually set. You define the windows, they choose from them. This removes the back and forward that otherwise eats into your day and makes you feel like your schedule is being managed by other people. Clients sending you texts on a Saturday night just isn't ideal. It sends automatic reminders to clients ahead of sessions, which reduces no-shows, something that costs all PTs a disproportionate amount of time and money. It should also handle payments. Whether you're charging per session, selling packages, or monthly subscriptions, not having to chase up payments is worth a lot of mental energy. There are various platforms for fitness professionals, things like Acuity Scheduling, PT Minder, MindBody, Kilo, TeamUp are just a few. The one that is best is going to depend on your own setup. The more important habit is this. Anything that matters to you goes into the calendar, and if it isn't there, it won't happen. So if you follow that structure, pick the best type of scheduling app that works best for you. Alongside your calendar, you need somewhere to manage your tasks. These are two different things. Your calendar tells you when you're going to do something. A task list actually tells you what you still need to be doing. So as a new PT, your tasks will fall into a few very clear, distinct categories. Client-related tasks, programming updates, progress check-ins, reassessments, all the things that keep your clients seeing their progress. When you have a small number of clients, keeping track of that usually requires a system, even if it is just for 2 or 3 clients. So a simple note per client or a column in a spreadsheet that's usually enough to start with. These will all help you manage your clients and build a system which keeps everything together in place. Then you have business development tasks. So responding to inquiries, posting content, updating your profile on whatever platform you're using to attract clients, reviewing your pricing as you get more experience as well. These are easy to deprioritize when you're busy, but they're what determines whether your business actually grows or plateaus. You might also have employer or gym tasks if applicable. If you're starting out employed within a gym rather than independently, you'll have a separate layer of tasks, reporting, member engagement potentially, or class cover. These need to live somewhere that you look at regularly rather than relying on your memory. The mistake that a lot of new PTs make, and this is especially common in the first year, is trying to carry all this stuff in your head. It creates a background level of cognitive load that drains you even when you're not actively working. Getting it out of your head and into a simple system reduces that drain significantly. You don't need an elaborate tool for this either though. A basic task manager reviewed briefly at the start of each admin block is more than enough. The habit of you reviewing it regularly matters more than which platform you use. Now, if you're still studying, one of the most useful things that you can do right now is sketch out what your ideal working week will look like before you even qualify. Not in a really rigid way, but just as a starting point. What mornings are you available? What evenings? When do you want to protect your own training? When does your family or personal life need to take priority? Getting crystal clear on this before you start taking on clients means that you can set your availability intentionally from the beginning. This will prevent you default into whatever people ask for and building a schedule that you'll need to actually unpick later. And it's hard to start saying no to people when you've already committed. It also means you'll come across a lot more professional in those early conversations with potential clients. Knowing your availability early and clearly communicating that with people is reassuring to someone who's about to invest in a trainer. It signals that you're organized, you're reliable, and that's exactly what somebody wants when they're handing over their fitness goals to you. So as your client base grows, your schedule will need to flex, and that's normal. But if you do start with a clear structure, you're adjusting something intentionally rather than trying to impose order on something that was never actually organized to begin with. So the PT career is absolutely sustainable. It's flexible, it's rewarding, and the demand for good coaches isn't going anywhere, AI regardless. But the people who thrive in this industry long term aren't necessarily the ones with the best programming knowledge or the most impressive credentials. They're the ones who figured out early how to run their time well, how to protect their energy, set clear availability, use the right tools, and stay on top of what needs doing without it consuming their whole life. And if you're not qualified yet, you are in a good position. You have the chance to build these foundations and build these habits properly before the day to day pressure of a full client base arrives. Most people don't do that. The ones who do tend to hit the ground running in a way that is noticeably different. So if you've got questions about the practical side of starting out as a PT, drop them in the comments. And if you're thinking about starting a career in the fitness industry, book a free PT course intro call using my diary with the link provided. And I'll see you soon.